I know I forgot something, and so that's why I'm going to add this at the end of this video. So when I first started this segment, the subject matter was the valuation. So I gave you an example of how you can start a company, your startup costs, your gross revenue. Feel free to refer to the spreadsheet attached with this video. So now that we have a gross revenue calculation, and this is where the valuation comes in. So let's say that yourself and either you on your own or you and some other partners, you put in the startup costs of 17,000 USD, and you were able to run your business. You were able to have the gross profits that are in the spreadsheet here. So gross profits in a normal year are going to be 72,000 USD. So in a normal year, that means you just have data analysis contracts and accounting contracts. You don't have a CMA contract. We also said that we're going to have a CMA contract once every 3 years because we're really being conservative, and like we said, once every 3 years. So your gross profit on an odd year, so this is a year where you get a CMA contract, that's going to be 84,000 USD. So the way that your company is going to be valued, so in order for you to get from, to the meeting, the valuation meeting, okay, where you will say, this is my company, how much are you willing to pay me so that you can either buy this company or so that you can help me grow even more. What's going to get you to that meeting is, number one, you have to have historical data. So the example that I just gave you, that's a startup example. In actual reality, the way that it's going to actually work, you put in the startup costs, you have 1 year of training, meaning 1 year of no revenue. Then the first year of operation, which is going to be a normal year, if everything goes according to plan, your earning before interest and taxes is going to be 72,000 USD, so 72 million Rwandan francs. Year 2, which is going to be a normal year, same EBIT, 72 million Rwandan francs. Year 3 is going to be an odd year, so you're going to have 84,000 USD, so 84 million Rwandan francs. Then we go to year 4 and year 5, and those are going to be normal years. So in order to get a valuation from an investor, you have to have historical data. That historical data has to be at least 3 years, but the industry average is 5 years. So you have to be able to say at your valuation meeting, you will tell them, well, in 2022, I invested this much. In 2023, this was our EBIT. 2024, this was our EBIT. 2025, 2026, 2027. You're going to show them historical data that you've been making a profit. You're going to be able to show them what your gross profit was, what your expenses were for 5 years. When you're at this meeting and an investor looks at your numbers, so because you have 5 years worth of data, that means that you would have gone through, you have 5 sets of financial statements. You went through 5 cycles of accounting for the fiscal year. Because your company is making over 72 million Rwandan francs, you would have hired an accounting team to certify your financial statements. So your data is robust, right? It will stand to questioning. It will stand to answer all of the questions that this investor has. So now you will tell the investor, well, over the past 5 years, our aggregate net profit, if you add up all those 5 years, the net profit was 372,000 USD. 372 million Rwandan francs. That's how much we've been able to bring in over the past years, over the past 5 years. The way that evaluation is done, it's done in several ways, but the simplest one really, the simplest one is the present value of 5 years worth of cash flow. So what the investor will do is they will say, okay, so for the next 5 years, right, if you're able to bring in, let's say on average, and this would be, by now we're in 2027, right? And even though we said, all right, you're going to get CMA contracts once every 3 years, by 2027, we can assume that, with the way that Rwanda is investing in the capital markets and with the KIFC and also all of the double taxation agreements that the government of Rwanda is signing, I don't think it's really too far off to think of an odd year where you have a CMA contract. I think it's okay to say that, every year, yes, you can have data analysis contracts, accounting contracts, but you can also have a CMA contract. And remember that in our 5-year projection, we're assuming that we're only going to have the same amount of contracts. We're assuming no growth at all, which is probably is not going to happen. Growth is going to be at least 10% every year. So we can safely assume that by year 5 of your business, you should be bringing in at least 100,000 USD in EBIT, because you would have had 10 data analysts that have by now, they have 5 years worth of professional experience. You would have had 10 accountants that by 2027 also have 5 years of professional experience. And you would have had at least one contract, one CMA contract. So by, in 2027, in 5 years worth of time, you're going to have 22 professionals with professional experience with small businesses in the US and also the capital markets in Rwanda. So I think that even if we have a 10-year growth, which is really, and that's still very conservative, it is safe to say that by 2027, your gross revenue, so your EBIT, can definitely be 100,000 USD. So now the valuation that you're going to look for, if you just want to keep it simple, and here we're assuming, of course, of interest rates, there's no interest rate change, but at minimum, you're going to get this investor to pay you $500,000 for this company. This is just assuming, a very simple present value of 5 years worth of your EBIT so far at the last year. So you're going to have your financial statements for 2027. On that 2027 financial statements, the EBIT is going to be 100,000. We said 100,000 because the figures that I was sharing with you previously, so in the beginning of this video, they were just very conservative. We didn't assume any growth of clients or contracts during the 5 years. And also, we were just assuming one contract with the CMA, within the CMA administrative support segment. which is still very conservative. So within the 5 years, even if you factor in the growth rate of contract, factor in how the CMA market in Rwanda is going to grow, it is safe to say that you would have an EBIT of 100,000 USD. And so now what you will tell the investor is, well, over the past 5 years, we've had this much growth. We have these professionals that have professional experience. So this year we will able to bring in 100,000. We are expecting this number to hold for the next 5 years, if not to grow even further. So the least amount of the valuation, your investor will offer you the present value of 5 years worth of cash flow of your EBIT, which is 100,000. If your EBIT in that year is 100,000, your investor can say, well, how about $500,000? Would you sell your company for $500,000? And that's a simple valuation example. To go back to the reason why, why a valuation question it's never a straightforward thing. So you can value a company, you can have different metrics. Companies would look at, who's on staff, do they have professional experience? Who's been managing this business? Can this manager be replaced? Can this manager stay on to make sure that the profits and the growth remain the same? Also, they will look at the history of the company. They will look at your historical costs. They will look at your, net profit over the past couple of periods. And they will look at also market trends. So, for example, if your company is in a market that doesn't have as much potential as another industry, the valuation might be a little more conservative. But in this specific example where you have a startup that provides administrative service to growing markets internationally and locally, that is an advantage because we have data analysis and accounting for international companies in the US, and then you have the CMA market that's going to grow in Rwanda. So those are growing markets. You're going to have 22 professionals that have been working in the company and that have provided the service necessary to generate this the stream of income continuously, right? Because you would have shown that over the past 5 years, company has been growing, good service has been provided. So you have the professionals, you have the growing markets, and so that's what you will show your investor at the meeting. And then that final year, when you're sitting at the meeting, so let's say the meeting is January 15th, 2028. All right. You will sit down and say, well, last year our EBIT was 100 USD. For a company like this one, a valuation would probably be $1 million, $1.5 million. So I hope that this helps in terms of understanding how to get to a valuation, how to invest, why financial statements are important, why training is important, all of that jazz. So this was the reason why I started all these videos today. It was really to get to this point where you're at the valuation meeting. What happens? How is a valuation calculated? What are the offers? What is the simplest offer that you can have? So I hope that you've enjoyed these videos today. I will have more soon. Thank you for watching.